I think that Tom has the potential and is likely to be the future of that division. I think. That division is about to look very different. I mean, it sounds as though we're going into a new era. I think some of your familiar faces, also known as the dinosaurs, are on their way out. And it might even be by choice. Some of these guys, I'm going to retire. Maybe they will. And I share that because Tom's got one thing against him, but it's a big thing. I mean, I caught it when he said it as well. I mean, he said that it was 8 months ago that he said, I caught it. He said it one time, and Dana White just quoted it 2 nights ago. So, but when I tell you it's one thing, he said, I don't want to fight Jon Jones and then there was something on that. There was some kind of a caveat on that, but either way, it was said that he wasn't ready. You know, I need a couple more fights or I need more experience. Whatever it was, it never should have been said. And that's it, though. I mean, I'm being critical, and that's all I got is he said a sentence one time, and it was heard on an interview. Come on. Got to be able to work around this. Tom goes out, and he was in his hometown. Might have been the O2 even. And he goes out, and he has a match with Curtis Blades. And he hurt himself. He was on the attack, though. Man, I mean, he walked across the cage, and Curtis is standing there. I mean, Curtis did everything right, too. Curtis threw some couple of twos down the middle. Curtis did his job. But Tom did hurt himself. He didn't get hurt. He hurt himself. It was his attacks. Hurts his leg. All right. Heals up, and he's back. And I got to give you that timeline, though, because he's back in a main event. That's hard to do. To come to a comeback fight, whether it was a retirement or, in this case, a forced timeout, it's really tough to come back into a main event. I think it speaks to the respect. I think it speaks to the allure and the potential future of Tom Aspinall. I think it's a massive compliment that he's been put in this position. I'm just sharing for you as we go into it. It's a hard spot. What will generally happen when you're talking with a fighter who's coming off an injury, whether you talk to him directly or you talk to his team. And when I use the term generally, what generally will happen, it's happened 100% of the time that I've ever heard of in my life. A guy has an injury, right? A guy likes to do a training camp for 8 weeks. Likes to have a 2-month training camp. So when he gets told by a doctor, you're out with this injury for 8 months, the guy's math in his head is instantly 8 plus 2. And he will then tell the media and his family and his friends and his supporters and the promoter, book me in 10 months. I will be ready. The promoter will follow up. All of us say, hey, it was just like the doc said, 8 months, I'm cleared. I'm back in the gym. I can be two-month training camp. That's what I do. That's what I'm used to. Give me that and I'll go fight anybody. That's what happens every single time. And the problem with that is when the athlete was going into the 2-month training camp, he was in the gym every day. Prior to that camp, he just wasn't working as hard. It was just a different intensity. And I can just tell you that firsthand. I never miss practice. I had a fight on Saturday. I'd be at practice on Monday. And I wouldn't do what all the other guys did. Or not every time. And then even as I am going through and kind of get used to it, and kind of, you shake off your celebration, whatever that is, after a couple of weeks, and you're doing a good job. You're doing good, solid practice. You're showing up. You're putting the time in. But there is a time in practice where you're pushing, and you will ask yourself, do I want to dig that deep right now, or do I want to just go through the motions and get through this? And you got to you got to do both. And then when you have training camp, right? That was an actual day that I'd mark on my calendar right through my iPhone. And when that went off, now I'm doing the same thing at the same time with the same guys, but the intensity changes. If I want to break or I want to sit out around, I don't. If I'm on bottom and I don't want to scramble off because it's too hard, I will. I want to go get some water as opposed to hitting the bag. No, I'll hit the bag, get the water later. It's just a different thing. You change the intensity. And the reason I bring that to you is because when the guys do the math of X time by the doctor plus 2 for my training camp, they're not understanding you're going into camp in a very different condition, in a very different shape than you normally would had you been able-bodied, had you been getting the same road work in that you were used to, had you been jumping the rope the way that you were used to, had you been on the weights, had you been on the sparring, had you been on the mitts the way that you were used to. And it's just a different spot. When you come back, it's not a problem. You go in there 3-5s, it's going to be really hard. Tom is in a position, historically speaking, where he needs to finish the match. The likelihood, historically speaking, right? That means I'm basing this on other guys. It might not apply to Tom. If I was to base what he's going up against other guys, the likelihood of him winning a decision greatly changes. The probability and the fraction there greatly changes. It is a wildly difficult thing to go 25 minutes. The human body is not made for it. So there's ways to do it. Right? Boxing, they had the announcers do it. Since the fighters can't do it in boxing, they had the announcers do it for them. Well, they're feeling each other out. There is no such thing. They just have an unspoken and unwritten agreement. I can't do this and neither can you. They're making us go 12 rounds. Let's burn 5. And we'll go like hell for 7, which is reasonable. Very unlikely in a 2-month training camp that a heavyweight of that size can hold up for 25 minutes. I don't say this at all to put Tom down. It's just the opposite. He agreed anyway. He knows this. He knows what I'm saying is true. He agreed anyway. So walk out there anyway. Tabara is not an easy guy. I respect it. I'm calling this out so when the match is done, Tom gets the credit that he deserves, because I don't think he's fully aware of the respect that's being shown to him by bringing him back into a headlining act. So I'm here to tell the story for him.